Hey folks, how you doing? Uh, Subscribe. Yeah, a lot of interesting things to talk about. Scripture, you know. And now we're relating these scriptures to the acquisition of knowledge. Oh, that's what they're about. The ancient scriptures are about the acquisition of knowledge. The temples, you say what people worship, yeah. The temples were there for the purpose of teaching people. I want to teach the students. It was like a university. Went there to learn. You see. And so it was about knowledge. But the knowledge is put in mythological terms. So here's where we will begin with Kheper-Ptah. It's mythology. Doesn't mean that it's not true and real. It is true and real. The mythology is true and real. The mythology is what the scriptures and all religious books is based on. So indeed, the mythology is true and real. You know what I mean? But it's just difficult to understand because it's in mythological terms. So you have to unravel the mythology. So we're going to unravel the mythology of Kheper-Ptah to a degree, the god Kheper-Ptah. Now, Kheper, okay, is a god of transformation. Transformation, reformation, formation, creation, etc. This is done through knowledge. These transformations require knowledge. In fact, the transformation is transformation into knowledge, into the fields of knowledge or into another degree of knowledge, a higher degree of knowledge. This is what the transformation is all about. There ain't nothing spooky about it. You see what I mean? If a person goes to school, let's say a person graduates from, let's say, secondary school, goes to college, he's at another level. That's a transformation. He's going to another level of the acquisition of knowledge. That's what it's about in school, right? Well, that's what they did in the temples. It was about the acquisition of knowledge. Now, back to Kheper-Ptah. Now, Kheper is a god of transformation, and Kheper, he rolls the seed in a ball of dung, like manure, and he buries it in a hole in the ground. You see, when this is done around the riverbank, that ball of dung in a safe place on the ground, when the floods come, okay, it don't touch the little beetles that he rolled up underground. They're back there underground eating their dung. That's what they're in, and that's what it's for. When these beetles, okay, come out, you see what I mean? Kheper, their father, and the mythology says their father, could have been the mom, but the mythology says the father. And so the father transforms into the little beetles, his beetles. The beetles have acquired knowledge, evidently. He transforms into the beetles, like the father transforms into the son. In the mythology, it happens all the time. You see what I mean? So when the beetles were underground, they were acquiring knowledge. Probably from the dung. That's all that was there. Just them in the dung. They're underground. But they are on dry land underground. They're not down. You know, when the flood came, the waters receded, the beetles came out. See? And yeah. And this is when the transformation starts. It's on dry land. Dry land is important. You see? The water is death and ignorance, actually. Dry land is different. You breathe, you live on dry land. You don't drown. So anyway, Kheper transforms into the little beetles, okay? It's like, again, the Father transforming into the Son. God the Father transformed in the Christian tradition, God the Father transformed into the Christ. In the Kimite tradition, or ancient Egyptian tradition, God transforms into, or Source, the God of Source, transforms into his son Heru, which means, Heru means light. Heru comes forth by day, comes forth in the light. So anyway, we have these transformations into the fields of knowledge, or degrees of knowledge. So when we say, when we hear that the children in heaven waiting to be born, they're talking about degrees of knowledge. Degrees of knowledge here, in the brain, up here is heaven. Degrees of knowledge waiting to be born, waiting to be acquired by the individual, the person. Like a person in school going to education, he's trying to get to the knowledge. The knowledge is here. It's not in the book. It's here. Information is in the book. So now we say that these children are waiting to be born. Okay? That is, degrees of knowledge waiting to be born. This requires, let's say, fertility. This transformation requires fertility. When a person acquires a degree of knowledge, okay, he transforms into it, just like the Father transforms into the Son. You see what I mean? The student who acquires a degree of knowledge or more transforms into that degree of knowledge. That degree of knowledge becomes one with the student or the Father. That degree of knowledge becomes one with the Father. When the Father transforms into the Son, or the student transforms into the degree of knowledge. Because it's his. It's him. Well, of course, he transforms to it. When you learn something, when a person learns something, he transforms into what he has learned. It becomes a part of him. His knowledge. You see. So this is how Kheper-Ptah transforms. Kheper-Ptah transforms based on knowledge. Knowledge received. The Father transforms into the Son. Well, it's God the Father, no matter what religion it is, or cult religion, whatever. The Father transforms into the Son. And this is knowledge. This is the transformation into degrees of knowledge, which the Son is acquired. So, in some scriptures, we hear of the God tells one of his patriarchs or someone that he will multiply upon the face of the earth. He will have lots of children. So this child creates, gets married, and he creates this group of kids. Or then these kids, they create their children. Multiple children. These are degrees of knowledge acquired. When you transform this into human terms, or really the person, individual who is meant, to receive this information, that is the scripture. Well, we put it in at the level of an everyday student. In terms of an everyday student, you see that he acquires ideas. Ideas come to him. The more fertile he is, the more ideas will come, multiple ideas. They're his. These ideas are transformed into degrees of knowledge and degrees of freedom. Because with each degree of knowledge, you have acquired freedom. Because you have acquired knowledge. Knowledge makes you free. You're free when you acquire knowledge, at least relative to whatever it is that you're learning. You see. And so the acquisition of knowledge is what the scripture is about. And so now we have a God Shu, who's associated here. He maps out the land. He is the registrar of lands. And he's got to survey the lands and map them out. You see. So in the scripture, when the person or God is told to go over the hill there and spy out the land. Well, this spying out the land is the same as surveying the land and mapping it out. No, we're talking about the human body. Mapping out the human body. That's the land. You see. And so doing this is associated with time. It tells a person, let's say, when he can acquire certain degrees of knowledge, you see, by knowing his body, knowing when to do it. The hours of the day and night come into play. That's time. But knowing when to do it. Knowing when to go after this knowledge. It applies to each individual. Each individual has his time relative to his own rhythm, his own bodily function, etc. There is a best time for an individual to acquire knowledge, to sit down and meditate, and etc. and do it. There's a best time to an individual according to his rhythm, his being. Okay. So it's about at the acquisition of knowledge, and the Kheper-Ptah is the transformer relative to knowledge. Okay? A person transforms to the knowledge that he has acquired. Each degree counts. Okay, folks, thank you very much, and subscribe. And I'll be getting back with you about some more information on how the ancients acquired knowledge. And what the mythology is about. Knowledge. What the gods are about. Knowledge. Well, thank you, folks. Have a good day and subscribe. Thank you.